Okay, fantastic. Welcome to this presentation called Making the Most of Your Business. Welcome to everyone all over the world. We were just having a bit of a chat um, before this on some of the points about making the most of this business opportunity, and basically that this is a platform to you be able to grow your business. And I'm going to run through a few pointers today and things that I wanted to share with you, some feedback we've had from your training to help get better. And one of the things I think is really vital with this is really having a focus and having something that you're passionate about and that you've got a key direction. And what I found is through the years where I was an agent for 10 years myself, we always really focused on what was really interesting to us, which was independent hotels, boutique hotels, and trying to champion them and give a normal corporate traveler a real experience um, of something that just wasn't a Holiday Inn or a Novotel or something that was, pretty ordinary, certainly back in the early 2000s. And we saw the rise of this boutique brand. So I really wanted to champion that. But at the same time, I had to go out and get my clients and find my clients and find the people that wanted my service or needed my service. Um, this gives you a real direction and a real focus on where you should be spending your time. And I think that's one of the most important aspects. We only have a finite amount of time that we can spend on anything through the course of a week or a month or a year. Where are you best focusing that time? This is why we tend to go with groups and events and companies, is because when we build that relationship, we're getting multiple bookings. Um, if we just go after the booking.com marketplace, we're talking one booking at a time, and then inquiries, and then dealing with things that just be like I said, one booking at a time. You might make $20 or $50 or $100, $200 out of a booking, but it might have taken you 2 or 3 hours to do. Whereas these days we've got technology to help us. So as long as we can attract the crowd to that funnel, as people have heard me talk about funnels in the past, the technology starts to funnel them into the booking and into our selection of hotels. So our selection of hotels, in my case, I love boutique hotels and independent hotels. I love going and finding these properties because you have to actually go and sit in the hotel. You have to experience it. Go and even stay in the hotel. Open the fridge, the minibar, open the cupboards. Understand what's unique and different actually about that hotel. And that resonates then through your PBA, your portal. And you start to build this reputation from being able to champion these really unique properties. And that makes you unique and different. And it gives you a value in this marketplace. And this is what it's all about, is don't do the same thing that people can get somewhere else. Do the thing that you can do passionately about helping these people, and that will drive business. And you stick to that direction, I guess. Everyone books hotels. It's a massive market. People have very little loyalty these days. This is the reason Booking.com charges 15 to 30%, is because they have very little loyalty. They know the customer will then disappear after that booking and go and book directly the hotel, or go and book through another agent if someone pops up that looks more interesting. People don't have loyalty. That gives them an opportunity to do business with you. And if you can convince them that you have a value proposition, then that's fantastic. And you'll have a shot with that customer. That customer will give you a go in this marketplace. So, that's one of the biggest things, I guess. Build a focus, build relationships. This is a relationship business. Build the relationships with the hotels, but build the relationships with the guests, with the source of the business. The source may be an event organizer. It may be a venue owner. It may be someone in a company like a PA or an EA. They're obviously a very good source of business as well, because they're constantly booking. for colleagues and their bosses and different things like that. So you can build up this network, whatever niche, whether it's schools or kids events, whatever that is. Really work hard on building those relationships. And I'll come through a couple of points in the presentation in a minute. Hopefully you can all see this presentation on the screen. Let me see. So can you see that? Can someone just drop a quick message in just to make sure you can see this presentation on the screen? You should be able to. I should trust my. Thanks, Vanessa. That's Vanessa in Madrid. For those who don't know, welcome, Vanessa. Nice to hear from you. Okay. So we're covering the world today. I just want to let you know, agents, welcome. We've got today we've got agents in South Africa, in Singapore, in Spain, in Netherlands, and in Sydney. And who else have we got? We've got and in Turkey as well. So so fantastic. And we'll be just to those who joined us more recently, we're going to be holding these presentations a lot more regularly. We used to do it up to probably a couple of months ago, 2 or 3 months ago. We used to have them a little bit more regularly than we do. But there's some really good topics coming up. But what I want to do is kind of start from the start with this. Let's get a good foundation and let's keep building on these with your suggestions as they come through. Okay, so yeah, like I said, there's certain points I want to cover, and I think you'll find them quite useful. Hopefully, you'll get some value out of it. So we all know the market size. This opportunity is huge, and as I was mentioning before, people book all sorts of different ways. If you can see this graph as well, you know, it's a $600 billion industry where over 64% is based around the room bookings. The room bookings is by far the biggest market, and it's continually growing. And we're becoming more focused on experience and personalization of a stay as well. And I think this is something for you really to read about as well. Go on to websites like hotelmarketing.com and ehotelier.com, and you can actually start to understand and get a view from the perspective of the hotels and what they're trying to put in place, because they're constantly monitoring the market. And one of those areas is certainly personalization and delivering a better experience for the guest, because the guest is more discerning. You know, the guest is far more educated than they were 10 or 15 years ago, and they will. They know what they're looking for, and if you can provide that, you know, people have been surveyed. Something like 65, I think it was, of people surveyed out of one of these websites said they would actually pay more for personalization. So it's not just about price, and this is something that I'm going to go on about forever if you haven't heard me already. It's not just about the price. Yes, we've got to compete on price, but it's more about the value, and they're two different things. Value and price are two different things. You know, you can get a cheap price, as you might get through working with Booking.com or Expedia or Hotels.com, but then you might get the rooms in hotels. That's not value. You get what you pay for from that perspective. But if you can pay a little bit more, but you know you're going to get a better quality room, or it's going to be near the other guests that you're staying with, or you know there's a networking opportunity, or as we've discussed with sports events and dealing with teams, quite often the teams want to stay together, and they will actually pay a little bit more for the ability to stay in the same hotel. So yes, it's about value, not price. So I think that's something that's really valuable for you to take forward, especially when you're dealing with hotels, but you're dealing with these events, to explain the difference. And then also bookings come from a wide variety. It's not just budget or luxury. There's, you've got to have choice, and that could be independent hotels, it could be chain hotels. It's all going to depend on the actual event that you're actually dealing with and what you're having. And it's good to kind of stick with that. Once you've got something, stick in that zone. I think that's really important, and we'll come back to that. So just generally speaking, excuse my dogs in the office, obviously as part of the presentation as well. Just sorry about that. Sorted out. See, live. It's all about being live, so things can happen. All right. So one of the other things that's important for you to understand is obviously where the bookings coming from, and how with hotels, who they're dealing with and what they're dealing with. So you need to have a basic understanding of the fact that people are working with Booking.com, what types of commission they're being charged at the hotels. Expedia as well, what type of commission are they, and they've been known quite high, and they don't necessarily have the most competitive rates either. Some of these are really good for booking individuals. Some of them are not so much. The hotels have a problem with this because there's an unknown quality of guest. They Booking.com deliver next to no information directly to the hotels about the guests that are staying in. And we've talked about this in the past. Hotels have a limited amount of room availability, and they have specific services like a bar, a restaurant, something that generates revenue for that hotel. So once again, it's not just about the value of the customer and where the value comes from, and it's not just about the price, it's about lots of things together. But when the customer is in the hotel, are they, from the hotel's point of view, in order to get the value and in order to get the rate, are these people going to spend money in the hotel? Booking.com doesn't know that because they don't get that information necessarily. They ask whether you're a leisure or a business traveler, and that's pretty much it, not necessarily why you're there. Whether you're attending a trade show, or they could guess, the hotel could guess, but if you've just spent money renovating a restaurant and you've got a lot of overhead there, it's really important that the people that are in the hotel rooms come and actually use the restaurant as well. So so there's all sorts of different hotels that need to be matched with different types of people. There's a fair bit of profiling. We're going to be developing our technology so it starts to profile a lot more effectively. And we've got a couple of firsts in the marketing of. But in the meantime, it's really good to do it manually. And you can easily do it by just asking your guests some questions, especially if you do get to speak to them by phone. Ask them, effectively, where do you normally book? What type of hotels do you like? What do you normally stay? Do you want a restaurant? Do you want a bar? Do you want to be on a train service? Are you going to catch taxis? All these different kind of questions that help you find out where the best hotel is for your guest. I think it's really, really vital to the hotels you're going to present. That's why when you talk to an event organizer, one of the things you start to do is ask them, what have you done before? Where have the guests stayed? Where have you stayed? Where have your keynote speakers stayed? And what type of hotels are they looking for? Are they looking for somewhere close to the venue, or do they not mind traveling? Are they looking for a business-oriented hotel or a boutique hotel? The event organizers will probably give a summary, but of course the guests are often independent of the organizers, and so they might have different likes and dislikes. So we'll start to develop our technology more to give them more selection and a more breakdown, I guess, and that's why we've got the little points on the side of the PBA that allow them to pick what type of hotel and what type of room they want to kind of help that choice. But we want to do more of that in a login profile situation, but you can do it verbally. So it's really important you understand your business market, and there's lots of ways to find out. Like I say, I think subscribing to hotelmarketing.com, that's hotelmarketing.com. I think it's really, really valuable. I'll just type that at the bottom in the chat box. The other one is ehotelier.com. Another one is for news and information, travelmole.com. So, and there's many, many more. There's another one that does a lot of kind of white paper. White papers can be very good to get your point across. It's called Skift. So that's, we'll do more on that in the coming weeks and months, but there's some good ones so that you understand how the hotels are attacking the market, what the market's thinking, what your product's thinking, where the opportunities are. And you can sometimes use these articles to actually send to some of your organizers or hotels just to get your point across and to qualify things that you're doing and saying. Okay, so we'll flick on from that. If I can get my screen moving. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I want to just reiterate the business flow for you, and then I've got a couple of tips and tricks that I want to discuss with you today. Business flow in 7 steps, okay? The first step is really research. Research. The better your research is, and the more defined, the more successful you're going to be. The less calls you're going to have to make. The bigger the reputation you're going to build in your industry, in your sector. So, for example, Google is your best friend, and networking as well. But you know, no matter what you're looking for, you can zero in and really, you know, fill that niche. And it may be a niche that you find by research. It's not very highly represented with hotel booking partners. So there is opportunities there, and it might be schools, or it might be weddings in your area. It might be something like that. So it's really important, I guess, you spend time on each website. And you also need to do that because when you speak to these particular organizers, and when I say organizers, I'm not actually necessarily talking about professional event organizers, and sometimes there's a bit of confusion. An organizer of an event could be someone sitting in the office of a company that has been given responsibility to go and organize an event. So these people don't do it commercially, they don't do it professionally, they need help, and they're a fantastic target for us because we can help them. They don't have the time to do anything. Quite often they're lumbered with this. It's not part of their normal job remit. If you talk to any PAs or EAs, you'll find that's the case, that you know, there's opportunity there. And by the way, that might be an opportunity for a lot of you if there are PA clubs or EA clubs. I know in Australia there's one called, I'm sure it's called the PA Club. It's a group of PAs, you know, that work for people in companies, and they deal with this all day long, and they need help. So that's a great, if you've got any networking events at venues around your city, then definitely attend those with a handful of business cards and start chatting to some of the PAs there, because they'll really need your help, really value that. And some of that business would be more individual bookings, but that's fine. If you've got a source of regular bookings and you can do 200-300 room nights for a company, then that's effectively, it's an event or a group, but it's just done slightly differently. And this is the other, I guess, interpretation of this market, is when we talk about group events, that could be just about anything. It's not necessarily a group as we know traditionally. a group of people come to you and say, can you book 20 of us into that hotel? Here's my credit card. A group can mean many, many different things. An event can mean anything from a wedding to a trade show to 4 or 5 companies that book similar hotels that could all use a PBA. And that might end up with 1,000 room nights. 5 or 6 different companies, as I said before, a bit like the PA angle, where they've actually, the agent has gone out and found 4 or 5 companies, and these companies realize that they don't have very good buying power independently when they go and book hotels. They're just booking on normal websites, or they get average rates. But as a collective, these 4 or 5 companies now have 50 room nights a month into a particular city. If they're all using the one PBA coming through you, that gives fantastic buying power and fantastic leverage that you can leverage. So, there's so many different ways to target this. You've got to find what's good for you. And this is what I was saying before. I think really drill down into that niche. Don't try and scattergun and try and get lots of things. Pick a niche that you see potential in, and really drill down into that and get referrals from them. Every event that you do, there are a number of companies that turn up, and from the website quite often, or attending the event yourself, you will actually see all the companies that turn up. All those companies that turned up in, that saw you on the website, are all potential sources of business for you in the future. So that one event might have 200 exhibitors, and those 200 exhibitors come from 200 companies, and those 200 companies between them have 10,000 employees that travel all over the world. They go to lots of other events that could introduce you. They might even host events themselves, groups and meetings. And so when you're in that niche, it opens more and more doors. And I think I've used the analogy so many times that the medical industry, we've worked in the medical industry a lot. And you should all really be using the reputation of Hotels TV and all the events that we've actually done. You should really use that reputation to open more doors for you. But in the medical industry, once you've done one, everyone else sees you as an expert. So you can really, leverage off the back of that and just focus sector. And quite often there are people in a hospital that are in charge of putting a particular seminar together or something like that. Like I said, they're not necessarily professional event organisers. So really research well, and the obvious things you're looking for when you go onto these websites, you are looking for event pages which ideally already have an accommodation link, which shows that they value accommodation as a criteria on their website, but maybe they have no content, or they've just linked to a Holiday Inn or something close, or they've linked to booking.com, maybe they've got an affiliate deal. None of these bring value. None of these are helping their guests, because the guests are just going to go and end up paying more than they should because they're not being treated like a group. And our leverage is that we have multiple numbers attending this event, which means we can negotiate harder with the hotels because of that, the multiple numbers that we have. If we're just booking.com, yes, okay, they get very good rates because they do lots of bookings, but we're talking one booking at a time. And then the rate goes up, and the rate goes up, and then the rate goes up, and it keeps going up. With our rates, once we fix a price, we fix a price. So it doesn't matter if we book 50 rooms, they'll get it at that price. So we can generally and usually undercut the likes of the online agents such as booking.com and hotels.com and Expedia, because we're in a different type of sector. The other thing, of course, is, when you call in the hotels, you're talking to the sales department. You're not talking to the reservations team necessarily. The reservations team are here, and the sales department is here, and the revenue manager is here. So the revenue manager talks to the sales department and they work out their rates. And because ours are ad hoc, which means they, depends at different times of the year based on the availability, we have to renegotiate and renegotiate and renegotiate. Through the reservations team down here, the revenue manager is given the reservations team a set price. So if you're an individual and you call that hotel, that's the price. You don't get a discount. You don't. Maybe you get a bit. Maybe they get a little bit of leeway, but generally not. The sales team that sit next to the revenue department that really can negotiate the best rates. And so all of you should have LinkedIn profiles now. If not, get onto LinkedIn and get connecting to the sales director or the sales manager or the salesperson of the hotels that you want to target. Okay, so LinkedIn, not great for transacting business at all, but LinkedIn is fantastic for networking and introducing yourself to the sales departments of hotels. All hotel sales departments will be on LinkedIn. So if you want to know who runs that sales department, go to LinkedIn and just give it a search. If anyone wants to know how they should set up their LinkedIn profile, just go onto my page. You should all have my links by now from all the thousands of emails sent out, and you should all link to me as well. If you link to me on LinkedIn, I have something like 1,500 connections who are connected to people, and they're connected to people, and they're connected to people. A lot of those people within my my profile are sales departments of hotels. And also you'll find that actually there's a lot of PAs in mine as well. So you can actually, by linking to me, you should be able to see my contact list. And through that, you should be able to get an idea of who you should be linking to. It's a very valuable resource to open some doors for you. Okay. So then the next step is to contact the event organizer. Okay. Pick up the phone and call these people. Nothing happens in business unless you actually make it happen. People are surviving right now without you. So, you've got to shout and scream. And if you send them an email, that's great. But most of the time, it'll go into their inbox with the other 5,000 people that sent them emails. So it doesn't matter how good your service is. There's a lot of amazing technology companies that were developed that do some incredible things that never worked. And the only reason they didn't work is not because they weren't good, it's because no one ever knew about them. And the people that were there weren't shouting and screaming about them. And they weren't picking up the phone and explaining how it works and why it's good for them. So you want to network. Call these people, introduce them, then email them something. Try not to do it the other way around. Look, we send mail shots out all the time that don't get answered. Some get answered, some don't, but we just become junk mail. We're just filling people's inboxes. So as you all know, the way we tend to work our campaigns is to send an email out and then follow up with a phone call. And even if they didn't receive it or it went to junk mail, because a lot of the time it does, and we might alert them to say, hey, it's in junk mail. But what you should say is, oh, but don't worry, I'll send you something else. But what I wanted to talk to you about was very briefly just how it works. This is who we are. This is what we do for people. And this is how it works. And this is what it can do for you. How does that sound? Does that sound like something that could interest you? And that's really it. Let me email you some information. And now when you email it, it has some meaning. to it. You've got a connection. You've got some sort of personal relationship. You know, there's basically you know there's a reason for them to keep connected to you, and you know, people intrinsically don't necessarily want to let other people down. So if they say they're going to look at it and you're going to call them back in a few days, then they know they're going to look at it. You know, different things like that. That's a relationship. Um, People tend to be able to put you off or get rid of you quite quickly when there is no tie there and no relationship. And so sometimes you've got to be prepared to make 2 or 3 phones, to find an opportunity to build relationships. And we'll go through this in another webinar as well, but relationship building is incredibly important. Picking up the phone, have a joke with them, lighten it up, create that immediate bond. You're not selling anything, you know, you're here to help them. You know, something that connects you is really, really important in that early, because it creates a bond. And then when you go and email something, they read it because you've got a bond. But if you don't have a bond and you email them something, it's junk mail, you know. So these are things we'll go through in more detail about how to do that, how to create relationships, even how to sell. We've got webinars. If you've not been onto the training information, and all of you should have, you should all be subscribed to it as well, the YouTube training. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. Every time we add a new video like this webinar, we'll go onto that training channel on YouTube. You'll be alerted straight away, so you'll know some news on there. So please write that down. Definitely go onto that YouTube training channel. It's linked inside the admin system. Hit subscribe, and then you'll be updated every time. So, okay, let's move on to the next screen. Hopefully you're following that. It's pretty straightforward and you're getting some good information out of these things. The next step, point 3, is to contract the hotels, negotiate rates, and add to the price. So obviously the bit I kind of missed before about connecting and talking to the events is that you're obviously going to sign the events up and get an exclusive agreement. That's what we're here to do. You know, the reason we get an exclusive agreement with an event is so that we capture the market, because the event already has the audience. But our service to them is free of charge. So we want an agreement because that's the only way we get paid. Okay, so we want an agreement so we can work hard for them, and then we get bookings out of the event and we earn commission at 10, 12, 15%. That's why we want exclusivity. And also, by having the exclusivity with the event, remember, one of the main things it does for us is gives us leverage. Okay? Leverage is a word I will say lots and lots and lots, but leverage gives you the ability to negotiate better rates and terms for the guest. So the event organizer, by giving us exclusivity, gives us the power to get the best rates in the market. I never will go and negotiate with a hotel. Well, I never say never. I rarely will go and negotiate with a hotel if I don't have an exclusive commitment from the guest. And the reason is I don't want to waste my time. But also I know that if I can say I've got exclusivity, I can push the hotel further and get them a better deal. You know, for us, you know, if you think about it, if we do a booking for $200 and we're making 10%, and we book them for 4 nights, is $800. Okay, we're going to make $80 for that one booking. Okay, and these are the reasons we do multiple groups, so it's more than that. But let's just call it $80. If we get that guest on $50 a night instead of $200 a night, okay, we're making $60 instead of $80. Okay, so yes, our commission's gone down, but we've been able to impress a customer who will hopefully come back again and again and again and again and again. And it only costs us that 20% discount in our commissions, even though, you know, we got them a bigger discount, 25% effectively, in their rate. So sometimes, and it's not so dramatic quite often, the discount, but the point is that by helping these people and squeezing the hotels by having that exclusive agreement, you know, we will only lose a fraction of the commission, where we get a bigger drop and it's more dramatic and it's far more impressive. Yeah, even sometimes if we lower our commission to do a deal from 12% to 10% or 10% even to 8% if we need to, if it's worthwhile, if it means we can include breakfast in the rate, we have that flexibility. I think that's the bottom line that you'll start to learn with this business. It's a flexible platform. The idea is to give you flexibility to help you in negotiations, to help you with different types of events as well. So once you've got that event contracted, fantastic, you've got leverage, you then want to contract the hotels and negotiate rates, and then you want to add them all to the PBA. This is when we send out the RFP, request for proposal. So some of you haven't got there yet, but others are there and have been using them. The RFP is simply an email. It says that we are the exclusive agent, and it goes out to 20 different hotels. And you know, we only want 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 hotels, but we're going to go to 20 hotels so that they all fight and scream and they all want to get in. They all want to give their best rate and be one of those chosen hotels. So we build some competition because of the leverage we got, because of the exclusive agreement we got, which means we get everyone much better rates, which means they're happier and they see the rate and they book, and that's how the system works. It's all through leverage. Okay, and then we add it on to the PBA. Okay, let's go forward, not backwards. Okay, so then obviously we link the PBA to the event website. Why do we do that? We do that because that's where the audience is. So everyone looking and registering and booking will see an accommodation link. They'll click on that link and they'll go straight through to the PBA, which you can see on the screen. The PBA, which is what you designed, which is built around their event, which has got some impressive hotels in each category from budget to luxury, with fantastic rates and added value, upgrades, bottle of wine in the room, and checkout, all these sorts of things. So once again, every step is about leveraging one thing or the other. When you call the event organizer, okay, you're giving them a great value add, you're giving them a great service, and by getting the event, you're being able to leverage the hotels and get better rates for their guests. Their guests are going to be really impressed, and they're going to thank the event for that, because the event put them in touch with us, which put us in touch with the hotels, and this whole kind of ecosystem exists because of the leverage we get from both ends, and we put it together using our technology. That's it. So it's not a, as I've explained to everyone, it's not a magic wand. It's not a get-rich-quick technology or platform. It's just a platform to facilitate the bookings, and it's your leverage you're using to create the deals. And it's not difficult to do, because very shortly, or if not already, you've already got relationships with your hotels. It's picking up the phone or sending an email going, oh, I need this rate for a client. And I'll just set up more in a minute. But you can push these hotels, and you can be cheeky with these hotels. These hotels want the business, and if they don't want to work with you, you move on to another hotel. You know, so you are using your advantage in this market to get the best deals for your guests as well, and to look after the events. So it's all about this leverage. Okay, and then also once you've linked it to the website, remember, you also want the event organizer to be actively promoting you as part of their event. So you want them to email their database and put you on their social profiles. And we will get your social profiles. If you haven't got them already, you should be setting up obviously some Facebook and some Twitter pages, not spending too much time on them. But in later webinars, we'll go through social and how you can make it user-friendly, or how you can use it for your events. As a general rule, just going out scattergunning doesn't work. It costs you a lot of time on social media. So hold off on the social media unless you get very, very focused on your group or an event. If you've got something to talk about on Facebook or Twitter to do with an event you're working on, that's great. That's where you see the results. That builds your profile in that sector as well, and people get to know you because your voice is consistent. So when they go online, they see you're doing an event. When they go onto social media, you're doing an event. When they go onto Twitter, you're talking about an event. When you email these people, you're talking about an event. So it's not like you're talking about individual bookings or other things. It's sending the same message, which is really important if you're going to get the most out of any marketing that you do. But that's another chapter. So, okay, so you link, you get them to send email shots out, you work with the organizers. Really important that the organizers help you promote your events, because they're in it too, you know. Why have a great discounted rate at a hotel for your guests that are attending your event when you're not telling anyone about it? It makes no sense. When everyone's booking higher rates than they could have, they're going to be really disappointed knowing that they missed out. So it's in the organizer's interest to make sure they promote it. And also, you know, we'll get back to it as well. And the other things are like link up with organizations, venues, convention centers, all these networking that you can do. That's very valuable as well. It takes time though. So, you know, give it the time it needs and let it evolve over time by keeping in touch with them. Don't batter them, but, you know, make sure that you are consistent and people know that you're there in a month, in 3 months, in 6 months, in 12 months, in 2 years. They know you're there. And when the time's right, they will use you. They will talk to you because you're there and they need something and they will try you, and that's when you win them. Okay, the next step, number 6, is the booking process. So the bookings now come in, people come onto the website and they book. They book all sorts of different ways. One of the things that you must do, and the system automatically confirms them if you've set availability into the system. But with our system, you can work on request as well. So in one aspect, you've got automated bookings. So it's a calendar. The hotel said you can have 10 rooms a night. You put them into the system for that limited period that the event's on. People can come book and through and book those particular nights. But then what about that hotel you want to book, but you can't get any availability because they've only got a few rooms, or maybe you've sold out of the availability, but you still want to sell them because there's a few rooms, but you can't get any exclusivity over those rooms from the hotel. You put it on request, which means the people can come through and like it and book it, but they realize it's not confirmed yet because we have to check the availability with the hotel. The booking comes in on request, and you pick the phone up and you talk directly to the hotel and say, hey, is it available? Can I have a room? And you can be cheeky again and go, okay, you know, please make a room. I've done 50 bookings already with you, and I just want one more. It's really important that they stay in this hotel and stay on the line. Can you go and talk to a superior? Can you talk to the revenue manager? We need this client booked at this hotel. Okay, and we'll do some training on this. You can be pushy with these hotels. You know, it's important it's done nicely. It's not done in a mean-spirited way. But I want you to understand that you shouldn't be intimidated by the hotels that you're dealing with. They're there to receive the business. And as you get to know this business, you'll understand that these hotels do keep some rooms up their sleeve. They do have extra availability. They do overbook their hotel as well. They do have the ability to cancel other people's bookings as well. That's something you will learn, that it's all about how the sales departments and the revenue managers start to value your business over someone else's business. And when you're new to the business and a hotel calls you and they say, I'm really sorry, I know we confirmed that booking, but one of the bathrooms is broken and it's flooded and we can't use that room, it's rubbish. Okay, that's not actually what happened. What they did was overbook their hotel and they're moving you out. They're getting rid of the problem. So that is a sign that your relationship is not maybe strong enough, or you're not pushing your case enough and standing your ground far enough for your guests and your reputation. And this is really, really important. As you grow, you value your business. This is your livelihood. We've all come into this. You've all purchased your license. You've become agents because you want to work in this business. You want to work in this industry. You see opportunity. You want to work from home. You want to develop a travel business. It's really important that if your business is going to be successful, it's built on your motivation and your determination to make sure that these guests achieve what you set out to have them achieve, because you know that's going to bring the event back and it's going to bring the guest back. You achieve what you set out to do, or possibly overachieve. Important that you then don't get disappointed by the hotels because they've just shoved you to one side because it's a machine. A lot of these hotels are a machine. So really important to stand your ground. We will do more work on that. I just wanted to touch on these points as we go along. The other thing, of course, is to confirm the bookings. Even if it's automatically confirmed, our system generates an email which is then sent to the contact that you put in the system or added the hotel. There is a contact email address, and the booking will go to that contact. Sometimes things go to spam, or the contact gets do anything. So it's really important that the hotel, and we send reminders to them, the hotel comes back with a confirmation number to say they received it and they entered it. There should be absolutely no question on availability whatsoever if there was availability entered into the system by way of agreement from those hotels. Do the agreement. You don't have to write an agreement between you and the hotel for that event. The hotels will email you the agreement once you've had a chat with them. Terms. So that's what they'll do. They'll send you an agreement, and they'll say yes, yes, yes. So you might sign it, but you're not signing. You're not guaranteeing anything. All you're doing is agreeing to those rates and that allocation of rooms for that period of time, which they might take back 3 or 4 weeks prior to the event. There is an agreement in place, and you're entering availability in place. And that means if someone books online and it's automatically confirmed, that should be honored by the hotel. There should be absolutely no reason why that's not honored. Okay, let's move on. Then it goes into the invoicing stage. I'll touch on this because what we want you to do is just make sure at the end of the month you've checked all the bookings and any amendments are updated in the system. Once again, if you're not up to that stage or you have any difficulty with that, then you just contact support, and support will guide you through that stage at the end of the month. But we normally approach you and say, hey, we're invoicing, just check, make sure everything's right in the system before we invoice. Okay, so let's recap that. 7 steps, very simple. Use Google to find your events, research, network, join business clubs. There's a great business club called the BNI, Business Network International, BNI. Look it up in your city. They are global. They're a franchise. But what they do is they get agents together. Sorry, not agents. They get business people together, builders, plumbers, lawyers, and there can only be one of each category in their chapter. So you would be the only hotel booking agent out of 50, 60, or 100 different members within that business networking club. So it's called BNI, Business Networking International. So that's one to look out for. Like I said, they're all over the world. Number 2, contact the event organizer. Get an agreement with the event organizer. Number 3, contact the hotels, negotiate rates, and get it all online onto the PBA. Then link the PBA, step 4, to the event website. Work with the organizer to email the network and get in front, social media, whatever you can do. The more noise you can make promoting how good your rates are, the more bookings you're going to end up with. Also, put some timely specials on, like a last-minute special, maybe an advanced purchase special. Keep the rates moving, and that gives the organizer something else to email them about. So don't just give static rates, change them up a little bit. Give them another deal. Go back to the hotels, they'll work with you on that. Work with the organizer to email, that's step 5. Number 6, process the bookings and handle the inquiries. Make sure everything's good in the system. It's training information. You should be trained on that through certain stages for those that are just new. Update all amendments and make sure everything is correct to invoice. That's that next step. Okay, there's a list of actual bookings here. I think you've probably seen them before, but it just gives you a little bit of an idea. I won't spend much time on that. On this presentation, you know, you can also freeze this and look at these. These are some of the events we've done over time that are generated, you know, 60, 70, 30, 40, 10,000 pounds or dollars worth of actual accommodation, of which, you know, we invoice 10%. So, you know, as an earn, you can earn anything from, you know, $500, $600 up to 6,000, 10,000, 15,000, depending on how big the event is and how many rooms that you book per event. But like I said before, you know, aim to be in that niche, focus on that category, and really develop that opportunity, because one leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. Whereas if you change sector, you're effectively starting from scratch again. You know, so if you keep changing sector, you keep starting from scratch. We should be really starting to build a reputation in a particular sector. You know, that gives you momentum and some regular business, and go for the annual contracts as well. You know, if they're an annual event, make sure you're getting an agreement for 2 or 3 years if you can. If you can't, do 1 year at a time. But if you can, you know, there's no hard and fast rules, you know, to this business. It's down to negotiation. We've got a system that we know works, but it doesn't mean another system or another way doesn't work. You know, once again, this is your business. You want to do hotel bookings. Find another way to do hotel bookings, but it's still a hotel. People are still going to turn up. They're still going to stay at that hotel. If you can make it better, or you've got an angle, or you've got an opportunity, then this is a flexible enough platform generally to be able to cope with that. But we know certain ways that work. It doesn't mean they're necessarily the only way. Like I say, it's a $600 billion marketplace. Your city will maybe have, I don't know, thousands of events. Excuse me. It might actually have thousands of events per year, and you're only going to do 20, 30, 40 events a year. So there's a lot of scope and a lot of bookings that happen lots of other ways, and you can start to capitalize and really start to think, you know, a little bit more creatively around how you target your market as well. If you have any ideas or you want to brainstorm, then just go online and book a session, and we'll just call it a brainstorming session, and just talk about, you know, how you can get through to other parts of the market. But, you know, there's lots of opportunity there. Okay, we're down to the tips. Just to finish off, we're going to close off shortly and just see if we have any questions out there. Build relationships. Okay, when you're dealing with event organizers, and we're not necessarily talking about professional organizers, we're talking about people who organize. You know, they're not necessarily commercial, they're not making money out of the event, they've just been charged with the job of actually doing it. Build relationships. Do not expect miracles on the first call. You know, how many people do anything off the first call? You know, it takes time to build trust. Trust is really important, and value takes time. So start working on that. Never discount your clients, never prejudge the people that you're working with, and always collect their information, their email address, their contact details, and add it to a database or add it to a CRM. This is where CRM, if you want to know about working with Agile or any other CRM like Salesforce, we'll book a session on that too. But the CRM makes your job a lot easier, and you can start to get your own emails and start to build your own audiences. We do a lot out of here, but you could be doing a lot yourself by just simply investing into yourself, and that's another really important thing we'll discuss in future sessions. What else can you do to make your business better? Like I say, don't just me. YouTube is full of great ideas. It's full of trainers that if you are one-on-one, how to build your business, doesn't matter what the product is, how to build your business, people, that you would spend thousands to be consulted by, they're giving it for free. YouTube is an amazing, amazing resource of how to build a business. Like I said, it's got nothing to do with the product. Any product can be put into that. But there are certain things that we all do that we need reminding there are better ways to do. So that's important. Also, you want to educate your customers, educate the event organizers, send them some information, get knowledgeable about the sector and why what we do is valuable to them, and send them an email with some information they can read about why hotel bookings are important to events. Develop an ebook. We do all the time. We've got ebooks we can share with you as well. But send them an ebook. Create an ebook, or be specific about the ebook, why hotels are good for events in this particular category, or what hotels are on offer for people like that by working with us, or events like that. So there's lots of different ways to educate you. So you might send them 3 or 4 emails once a month, and then eventually on the 3rd email, they actually give you a call because they need you now. And it's going to happen. They're all in different cycles. Some people are here and they're ready to start. Other people are here and they're not ready. So they have to get over here. You've got to give them time to do that. So don't expect miracles. Be persistent, but don't be a pest. And once again, keep all the contact details in an email. This is your business's most valuable property. It's not the technology. The most valuable property of your business is your customer. And your customers should be recorded. And that is that one contact, one email address. And they're qualified and they're people that hotels and will use a service like you, is an incredibly valuable asset to your business. And this is also why we promote using a CRM, so that you can use that customer properly and treat them with respect and send them professional emails. Check your spelling as well. Check the way your emails look. They don't have to be beautifully presented with images and all that. If you go onto YouTube, once again, it changes. Type in how to send an email campaign. And it used to be that we would send lots of beautiful images and attachments on an email with lots of information, and that was fantastic. But now they get blocked by spam folders, so they don't even make it. So quite often, a simple email will actually get through more times than a beautifully presented mail shot. So, but just make sure that it's spelled correctly, it's very clear, maybe short paragraphs, and your message is succinct. So it's very, very clear, direct, hits the point. Maybe it's even educational, so that these people look forward to receive mail because they're going to learn something. And if we all receive junk mail that we actually like, some of it we just don't and we ignore, but some of it's really informative, and it might give a little bit of a summary of something that's happening that gives us a dose of education. So think about how you like to receive your information and start to interact with your organizers like that. And once this consistency will start to pay off. When you're dealing with the hotels, do not be intimidated by the hotels. They're just people employed to fill rooms full of people, so they want business. And you can push them and squeeze them and squeeze them and squeeze them and squeeze them. And if it's an absolute no, you can always go back to whatever they just negotiated with you. It's not like a one-shot deal. You don't lose it just because you push them too far. You just go, okay, last chance. What is the best, lowest rate you can do for me to become one of the 6 hotels that's featured in front of this audience? And we'll do other things, but remember the value of this audience. We're talking event might have 2,000 people attending it, but they have 30,000 people on their database that will hear about this hotel. So you really have to sell the value of what you're presenting to the hotels and to the events as well. Negotiate hard, be cheeky. By being cheeky, you become more memorable. You become remembered by the hotel staff. And do you want to become remembered for being pushy? I don't think it's a bad thing. I think eager is good. I think someone who wants business and is desperately trying to get that client into that hotel, and you're really enthusiastic about it, excuse me, I think is a great thing, and the hotels should respect that because you're working so hard to fill their rooms up. So push as hard as you can and get the best deal for your clients as you can, and you will blow them away, and they will come back, and the event will come back. And this is how you build a business built on passion. You're passionate about the hotels you choose. You're passionate about the clients that you work with and getting them the best deal. You're passionate about the events that you work with and building a reputation in that sector. Your enthusiasm will win people over. If you just call people monotone, like, yeah, my name's Harrison, I'm from Hotels TV, we do bookings, you're not gonna win anyone. You've got to show them that you live and breathe this, that you've found the best hotels, that these hotels want to work with this event. And this is one more thing I'll do before we sign off, and there's lots of other tips here as well. You have to work on our reputation. It's really important. We've done hundreds and hundreds of events all over the world through lots of agents in different cities all over the world. You can go onto the agents page on the site and you'll see the events that are there. When you go in, especially if you're new, you have to inflate yourself. You have to be bigger than you actually are. You have to almost be more experienced than you actually are to win the confidence and win the trust. So use our reputation. When you talk about it, say, yeah, we're Hotels TV and we've done hundreds of events. Don't go, yeah, I'm from Hotels TV. I'm just new here. I haven't done any events. Not quite sure what I'm doing, but I really want to work with you. Doesn't really work and build trust. So, come from a different angle, zip yourself, and some of you have heard me do this in training, into your super suit. I call it a super suit. It's a little bit corny, a little bit salesy, but it does work. When you sit down every day to business, zip yourself into that Hotels TV super agent persona. The reason salespeople and all these trainers do this and tell you to do this sort of stuff, I'm not talking about standing on your desk and chanting every morning. If it works for you, that's fine. But it's because it separates you from the mother or the father or the husband or the wife or the partner you are from just making first and speaking to your neighbor. It removes you and puts you into a business mode. And it gives you the persona that this is who I am, this is what I do. This is my personality. I'm here to help you, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that your guests get the best value when they're booking hotels to attend your event. And that is the switch that you want to make. And that will win business as well. So it's really important, marry yourself and everything else, that it helps you make the most of your business opportunity. People going into business is a very emotional thing, it's a financial thing, it's a big commitment, it's work, it's hard work, it's the best work you'll ever do. It should be the most rewarding work you'll ever do, but it's not easy. Running your own business is not easy, but it means something and it's worthwhile. And that's why we do it. So make sure that it's worthwhile and make sure that your passion and your energy, your focus for the time, whether it's part-time or full-time, doesn't make any difference. But for that time, make sure that you're in it, and that you're focused on it. Because if you're half-hearted or you're not focused in that particular way, then how do you expect them to be motivated and enthusiastic and everything else? So that's just a few tips based on that. Other things we'll go through, but building competition with hotels, best rates, getting the added value, negotiating on cancellation policy. You can do all that, and we'll train you to do all that. But realistically, it's down to you and your personality and how you connect with people as well. Okay, so the other thing is work activity. Nothing happens unless you do, unless you make it happen. Pick up the phone, be persistent, be consistent, create opportunities, look at things from different angles, talk to us about how you can create that opportunity, what are the things you can do. Be passionate about it. Your enthusiasm will get you over the line. And as I said before, join business groups and networking groups as well. Okay, lastly, keep us informed of the events that you're working on. We really like to work with you and help you on those and make sure you're getting the best value out of the events you're working with. And there might be some other events we can introduce you to that are in a similar genre or similar category, or that would. So we'd love to team you up with those, and that's worthwhile. Anything on support? I know we have so many different avenues of support. You can WhatsApp us, you can email us, you can call us, you can Skype us, and you can do all those things. But if there's something specific you want to ask or you want to schedule, like we've noted before, to schedule training sessions, really important. If you can do that online, that really organizes it, lets you know what times are available. If you have questions, please email them to support@hotels.tv. They will come through me as well. If you want, just address it to me at support as well, only because I tend to wear a few hats, and sometimes your emails might get a little bit buried, and I may not see them for a while by the time I've worked through my list, and it might be something that's quite urgent that you need an answer on. So make sure that you send it through to support@hotels.tv, and that channels it all, and then we can prioritize it when it comes in. Okay, so that's pretty much the end of the presentation. I hope you've got some value out of that. It is being recorded, so I hopefully it's come out, and I'll put that on the YouTube channel later on today, so it can be reviewed. If you've got any questions, by all means, drop them into the chat area, and I can work through a couple of them now. But thank you for your attendance. It's something, as I said before, we will continue on a more regular basis, and we will address specific topics, maybe articles, literature. If you want to suggest topics, then you can certainly do that by emailing support as well, and we can look at either, if it's a key topic, we'll make that a headliner, or we can put it into a webinar that has multiple topics as well. The other thing, of course, is, as I said before, just keep us updated as to the events that you're actually working on. So I'm just, someone's come in, question to ask about. Yes, so the presentation will be online after, as I said. And I think that's it. I think maybe I've covered a lot, and there's a lot to digest, and there's a lot to review perhaps as well afterwards. So, okay, we've gone over the hour, well over the hour. We try to keep it under an hour, but sometimes I go on a little bit too long. But thank you for your attendance, and yeah, keep up the good work. Keep busy, keep active. That's what breeds good business. And I look forward to seeing you on the next.